Today we go in search of unicorns and a new segment. What the was that? Yeah, that on the Football Takeover Show. Let's go. What's happening, everybody? Welcome into episode 2 of what hopefully is thousands of shows right here on YouTube, the Football Takeover Show. I'm your host, John Harris, football analyst, sellout reporter for the Houston Texans, but also owner-operator of footballtakeover.com. And I just say football analyst and sellout reporter because I'm so used to saying that whenever I intro anything, because I've been on radio for a very, very long time. But I'm glad that you are with me today for my, I say semi-daily. Once we get to the season, which will maybe start next week, we'll see. Training camp does start next week for the NFL, so we'll have plenty to talk about. So hopefully we'll start it in full next week, but a little semi-daily show 3 times a week this week. And today we go in search of unicorns. Yeah, you'll find out what I'm talking about. And a new segment I call What the Coach Was That? And you'll figure out why I've come up with that segment. It's going to be one of my favorite segments. Now, I know when you see this segment a little bit later, you're going to think, oh, he's only doing that for a reason. No, I'm going to be doing that segment regularly because that's kind of one of my favorite segments. Having been a coach, now an analyst, I like to look at the game in a different way, especially as it pertains to situational analysis. Speaking of situational analysis, it's time for the cover 3. Let's go. Football Takeover, the Takeover Show, cover 3. We do this every single day. We start at number 3. And again, this can be all kinds of football. We'll throw everything into the mix here. And so this is going to be a little mix of college and NFL. We're going to start with college. San Diego State, the Aztecs. There was a lot of noise about San Diego State joining the Pac-12. Now, apparently, they are going to stay in the Mountain West. I don't know if going to the Pac-12 would end up being a great idea. I think San Diego State needed probably another month or so to figure out what that media rights deal is going to be for the Pac-12. Couldn't figure it out. Mountain West said, you know what? Come on back. We're okay with it. We're fine. They're probably not fine, but they want San Diego State back. So San Diego State is going back to the Mountain West Conference, which I've always thought is and has been a tremendous conference. When it had TCU in it before TCU went to the Big 12, I thought it was, you could put that on par with one of the weakest Power 5 conferences around, but doesn't have TCU now, obviously, but I still think it's a tremendous conference, and San Diego State makes it that much stronger. All right, let's get to number 2, and that will go a little bit up the coast to Los Angeles. LA Rams. Matt Stafford and the Rams. This is a situation to watch. There were some rumors, some noise, if you will, about Matt Stafford not taking a pay cut, turning it down, and take that for what it is. If somebody offered me a pay cut, I don't know that I would take it either. I mean, I guess I would to keep a job, but Matt Stafford made a lot of money. He said, nope, not taking a pay cut. Kevin Demoff, the COO of the Rams, said, yeah, we kind of flirted with some trades of Matt Stafford. So I don't know. After listening to the podcast that Jordan Rodriguez put together, which was brilliant, by the way, I would have thought Sean McVay and Matt Stafford linked forever. But not really the case, it sounds like. And maybe the Rams are kind of resetting, and I don't know, maybe the Rams are setting up for that other quarterback in LA to join them in 2024. Maybe. I mean, if things go really badly this year, I don't know, Caleb Williams with Sean McVay, boy, that could be a marriage like Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes. But that's for down the road. Matt Stafford turning down pay cuts, saying, I'm sticking with where I am. Situation worth watching out in LA. And at number 1, how could it be anything other than what's going on with the running backs in the NFL right now? Franchise players, Tony Pollard, Josh Jacobs, also Saquon Barkley. Really difficult situation for these running backs. And it really, it's hit me for a long time. I mean, I have my theory about running backs, and it's not dissimilar to what the NFL does because there are so many running backs that you can go get. I mean, I think 2019 was a great example with the Houston Texans. The Texans went out and at the deadline, at the probably 3rd week of training camp, they traded for Duke Johnson. Now, they should have never traded a 3rd-round pick for Duke Johnson, but they did. But then right before the season started, right after preseason, Bill O'Brien traded a lineman that wasn't going to play for him because he'd been injured for a running back that wasn't going to play for Kansas City, Carlos Hyde. Carlos Hyde went and ran for 1,000 yards. I mean, essentially went and got Carlos Hyde off the trash heap, and he went and got 1,000 yards. the next year, you ended up paying David Johnson $12 million. It never made any sense. And I think that's really kind of what teams try to avoid, are those situations. I think where it gets tough is the fact that Saquon Barkley was a number 2 overall pick. So he makes the slotted number 2 money, but then when it comes time for a second contract, he's never going to see that again. And that's a big blow. And Josh Jacobs was also a first rounder. So it really hits hard for these first round running backs, where running backs will, I don't know, maybe have a different situation. Christian McCaffrey, caught 88 passes. Bijan Robinson's probably going to catch 65 to 70. If you've got that receiver element there, then maybe. But Saquon Barkley's as good catching the ball as there is at the position. And apparently the Giants were close. They just didn't get the ball over the goal line, no pun intended. So this running back situation is definitely worth watching. But the one thing that really hit me was, look at the franchise tag difference. Quarterbacks franchise tag money is $32 million. Running backs is $10 million. And in some cases, Tennessee, the running back's way more important than the quarterback. Now, Tennessee did re-up with that running back, Derrick Henry, and rightfully so. And they got him a good deal, 2 years, and got him some good money after he had been there for 5 years. So it's a tricky situation for these teams, but something at some point needs to be done. But I don't think it's going to happen until 2030 when the CBA runs out. But it's definitely worth watching how teams over the next 5 to 7 years attack the running back position, and then what changes can be made through the CBA for those players. So there's an equity for all positions. And so these running backs, these stars, these studs that everybody loves and buys the jerseys of, the careers are 4 or 5 years, and then that's it. And it's all because of money. They might still have more in the tank, not as much as they used to have, but they're not seeing the money. So it gets to be a tricky situation. So we'll keep an eye on the running back situation, how it pans out for Josh Jacobs, Saquon Barkley, and Tony Pollard with the Dallas Cowboys. All right, that's going to do it for the Cover 3. So let's get rolling and start looking for unicorns. And today, I make my case for 2 unicorns, one in the NFL and one in college football.
Hear ye, all rise. I think Dexter Lawrence is a unicorn in the game of football. I think he is arguably one of the top 5 players in the NFL on defense. One of the top 5 defensive players in the NFL. Micah Parsons is up there, there's no question. Nick Bosa's up there. There's little question about that. If you want to move to the secondary, obviously Sauce Gardner was tremendous. Linebackers, Fred Warner. But I think Dexter Lawrence should put himself in a top 5 conversation. He is a unicorn. He's 6'4", he's 345. And he can do it both against the run and against the pass. And this is a great example of what he can do against the run here. This is against the Indianapolis Colts. You'll see Big Dex right here. He's going to be in a shade opposite of Ryan Kelly here. So he's almost squeezing that A gap, but he's on the right shoulder of Kelly in a one technique right there. And the Colts are going to try and run zone. So they're going to try and zone off Big Dex, which just isn't going to happen. So as we run this play through, you're going to see the snap. And the first thing, at 6'4", you think, okay, he's tall. He's going to lose leverage, but he doesn't. He's so strong that he immediately gets his hands. Look at that right there. He gets his hands right there on Kelly. And in doing so, he is able to control where this run goes. He's able to control Kelly, first of all. Now he gets his outside arm free. Watch the outside arm. Look, right, he's right in position right there to make a tackle on the running back. He is going to change his entire run play because he is completely whipping Ryan Kelly. Now, should the Colts have done something to help him? Sure, but they don't. That forces the running back to cut it back. The Giants are in pursuit. They make that a 2-yard gain on 1st and 10. Now you're setting up 2nd and 8. Dexter Lawrence doing that right there. My goodness, look at that. He's free to make a play because of how strong, how much leverage you play with, and he's playing on the other side of the line of scrimmage, making it look easy. Now, let's take a look at him rushing the quarterback. When it comes to unicorns, they're beings that do things that nobody else can do. And this is a perfect example of that, of his pass rush. There's Big Dex right in the middle. He's going to head up on Garrett Bradbury right over the middle. It looks like, it could be a bull rush situation. They're only rushing 3. They're dropping 8. And Lawrence is actually going to start this rush. He's going to start right at Bradbury, but he's going to slide to the right a little bit so he can get in the A gap. And as he does, Cleveland is stepping in to help him, number 72. Now watch what Lawrence does. 2 arms extend, and now look at this. Look at him control a 300-pound man and bench press him into the ground. Look at this. He gets him going, and then 1 arm into the ground. Look at that. the power. And then he gets a big hit on Kirk Cousins. If you've seen the Netflix documentary, you know these hits were piling up, and this could not have felt good. 345-pound unicorn in New Jersey. My goodness, Dexter Lawrence, one of the top 5 players on defense in the NFL. So we're going to take a look at a smaller unicorn in the college game, and that's Harold Perkins from out of LSU. And he's a unicorn because of speed. Micah Parsons has come to the NFL and shown that you can be a stack backer and also rush the edge. I don't know that Parsons ever played with this amount of speed. Now, Parsons was bigger, and he really kind of stumbled upon being an edge rusher. Harold Perkins is showing all of that right now, and he's out here at 225 pounds. Alabama's going to run inside zone here, and you'll see Bryce Young's eyes go to Perkins. But it's not a zone read situation because he would be reading the other side. So he's actually looking for an RPO over here, slant, whatever they got on the backside here. But I want you to watch his speed. So when Bryce takes his snap and gets his snap, okay, he's going to put this ball in McClellan's belly. Now he looks over there. That's a throw read, okay, because they're bringing Latu back across. If it were a zone read, he'd be really reading this outside guy over here. So he's looking over here to see what happens. If he were to pull it, he would have to then regather and get around, and Perkins is fast enough to get back. So Perkins knows this, and as he follows right there, when he puts that right foot in the ground, from there to catching McClellan, look how fast. Watch this in real speed. Oh my goodness. I mean, he absolutely flies to the football. I mean, it is so impressive to watch that speed when he puts that right foot in the ground. And he goes from 0 to 60. And he's kind of reading it at first. And then right there. Watch him go. Woo! Man, that's a unicorn. But he does it in a lot of different ways. Check this one out. He's right here. He's mugging right there, right over the guard. And on the snap of the ball, you can tell, okay, he's not going anywhere. He's spying. Now, this is Malik Hornsby, former quarterback, Arkansas. One of the fastest quarterbacks to play in the country in I don't know how long. Perkins' responsibility when Hornsby came in the game was to spy him. Wherever he goes, you go. And on this rush, 3 guys are going to get home. They're going to get some pressure. See Ojulari off the edge here. I think that's him. Either way, he forces Hornsby to step up. Now, Hornsby, at this point, is faster than anybody on the field, seemingly. Watch Perkins run him down. Not only that, cause a fumble in the process. That's unicorn stuff right there. I mean, that's unicorn belief. Look at this. Watch him close, and get the ball out. That's a unicorn, my friends. Players that do that, whether it's chasing guys down the line, from behind, knocking the ball out, Harold Perkins is a unicorn.
I think those 2 guys are special. I saw Dexter up close, and he completely dominated a game that I was covering last year. He had 5 quarterback hits. He was tackling running backs with our offensive linemen. I mean, he was just incredible. At 6'4", 345, that dude is a unicorn. I think Harold Perkins is on his way to being the next Von Miller. He wears number 40, and so you see that right away and think, oh, yeah, that's Von Miller. And he plays like Von Miller, a little bit smaller, but man, the way he can dip and dodge. I mean, I sound like I'm doing dodgeball right now. But that's really the way he plays with that speed. That speed makes him an absolute unicorn, no question about it. Okay, this next segment is going to be one of my favorites, and I call it What the Coach Was That? Let's take a watch.
What the was that?
We've all been there, right? Watch the game, college, NFL. Maybe we've been at the game. We have something in our hands. Something happens, and we want to throw it, and immediately we're like, what the heck was that? Well, this is going to be a segment focused on the coaching part of what the F was that. And I call it, what the coach was that? Decision making by coaches, both good and bad, but hopefully to show that situational analysis in football is pretty important. It's failed a lot of coaches over the years. It's also done right by a number of coaches over the years. Today, well, I used this one today because it is the impetus for pretty much everything that I've done for the last, probably 21 years. This goes back to 2002 in a game where Furman was taking on Appalachian State. Now, this is before Appalachian State moved up to FBS level. This is at the FCS level. They were both in the Southern Conference, and they were powers. They were the Alabama and Georgia of the Southern Conference and of FCS. This game meant everything. And this game in 2002, I actually was in North Carolina living at the time, watching the game live because one of my good friends, one of my great friends, family member, if you will, my man Andy Kidd, was going to Furman at the time. He was a guy that I coached from 8th grade all the way through his senior year. So I wanted Furman to win. He was a captain on the Furman soccer team alongside Clint Dempsey. So I wanted Furman to win. I was cheering madly for Furman, and this was a physical game. 14-9, late in the game. Furman gets a drive going. Quarterback by Billy Napier. You've probably heard that name before. University of Florida. Head coach, Billy Napier. Well, Billy Napier comes up clutch late in the game. Watch how this happened. Right here, down inside the red zone. 14 seconds left. Got to find a guy. 3rd and goal. He's got him. Touchdown, Furman. They take a 15-14 lead. And there's the key. 7 seconds remaining. Now, at the time, 2002, 21 years ago, the chart. We've all know about the chart, right? When do you go for 2? When do you kick it, etc.? This is one of those situations in which Furman should have done nothing. They shouldn't have kicked it. They shouldn't even attempted to go for 2. Why? Well, think about it. It's 15-14, right? 7 seconds left. To get beat by a field goal, Appalachian State would need to either return a kick, burn seconds, and then score in the next play, which is not going to be a field goal. Down it in the end zone, have a play of 45, 50 yards, which is probably going to burn the 7 seconds to kick a field goal. There's no way a field goal beats you. So why go for 2 in this particular situation? Well, if you kick it, they could block it and return it. Because if you go for 2, they could pick it off and run it back the other way. Now, the percentages are low. We haven't seen that all that often. But there is a chance. What's the only way to eliminate that option? To take a knee. But Furman's coaches were hell-bent on going for 2. And then this happened. Play is rushed. Play clock going down. Interception. Lateral. Appalachian State going the other way. Oh my goodness. It is the miracle in Boone. Appalachian State takes a 16-15 lead on a 2-point conversion. And the game ends shortly thereafter. There was no reason for Furman to have lost that game. No reason for them to have gone for 2. And I know you're thinking, that's second guessing, John. Nope. I was watching that game in 2002. And as soon as they scored, I immediately screamed, take a knee. Don't take the chance of kicking it and having it blocked. Don't take a chance of going for 2 and having it returned. Take a knee, take a 1-point lead, drive back to Greenville with the win. Furman did not do that. They decided to go for 2 for no reason at all. And I know those coaches probably learned a very valuable lesson at that point, and we'll see whether that lesson is ever lost on Billy Napier now as a head coach in major college football there at the University of Florida. Now, I bring all that up, and I call that play the Mountaineer because Appalachian State's mascot is the Mountaineer, and I think it's a car or whatever it might be, and I thought it might be a good way to point out that I've got this chapter is the very first chapter of my book, my first book. It's called Times on Our Side, and it's essentially an analysis of moments in football, college, NFL, even high school, in which situational analysis, managing the clock, making decisions at the end of the game, have cost coaches and also helped coaches. This one, I remember when I watched it happen in 2002, I remember thinking, there's something about this play. I need to kind of mark this for the future. And I have. And it became the first chapter in my book. So make sure you check it out when it comes out August 1st. Times on Our Side. Make sure you check that out. 2002. Appalachian State beats Furman. The miracle in Boone. Well, number 1 miracle in Boone. We know what the most recent one was. Hail Mary. Just recently. But either way, what the coach was that? Well, it was a negative one to start. Sorry about that. But you understand why it is that important that I start with this one on this episode of the Football Takeover YouTube show.
Man, I still shake my head at what happened that day in 2002, sitting there watching at home, my little baby girl next to me, and who's not my baby girl anymore. Well, she'll always be my baby girl, but she's not 21. And watching that game, and I'm screaming, take a knee, take a knee. Now, if you're wondering why I said that, the impetus of this was 2001, when Larry Munson said, "We stuck on their face with a hobnail boot," when Georgia beat Tennessee. Georgia went up by 2 in that game, 26-24 late touchdown, and Mark Richt took a knee, and I thought, ooh, that's brilliant. You have to think situationally as a coach. What's the only way a team can beat you? And I think teams and coaches fail that a lot, but there are teams and players that get it right. We'll discuss those down the road, but today, unfortunately, it was a team that got it wrong, and they were my inspiration. All right, appreciate you guys watching this show. We'll be back on Friday. We're going to have a little Ultimate 11 for you on Friday. That's one of my favorite segments, kind of look at the past, the present, the history of the game. I love the Ultimate 11. So we'll do that on Friday, amongst other things, right here on the Football Takeover Show. Appreciate you guys watching. We'll see you next time. Good night.